Welcome back, everybody, to the second episode of the Cardinal Sportscast Recruiting Chat. I'm your recruiting analyst, David Lackford, and let's jump into your questions right away. All right. So, first question comes from Eastern Kentucky Chow. Chow tells me that he loved the video and keep up the great work. Well, I appreciate that more than you know. So, anyway, Chow wants to know, he says there's still a lot of uncertainty in his class. However, do you think if Louisville lands the big-time guys thereafter, could it be their highest-ranked class? Well, the highest-ranked class is so far, I think, number 29 in the country during the Rivals era. That was Teddy's class in 2011. They had Devontae Parker, Gerald Holloman, a lot of guys in that class that really did the thing for Louisville, and they ended up going and beating Florida in the Sugar Bowl. So, and then 2017 was also ranked 29th. That was Mekhi Becton and Malik at the time, Cunningham in that class. So right now they're at 55. They only have 2 kids coming in. If you look here is the offensive big board. You got 1 4-star there, Shadur Sanders. It's Deion Sanders' son. He's a quarterback out of Trinity Christian in Texas. He could get a bump up to 4 stars. Corey Kenner, Jalen Anderson, those 2 are 4 stars, so that would definitely help. You get a big bump from Kenner because he's in the top 150, and he's a 5.9, so that would give you more points. And then Jalen Anderson's 199, so he's a Rivals 250, and that'll also give you a bump, but not as much as Kenner. If they get both, which I don't think they will take 2, I think they're only going to get 1. If they do take 2, that's a big boost there. Huggins Bruce is the number 1 target for Louisville. I spoke with him the other day. He told me that he talks to Coach Brew all the time. That's his guy. He's got a lot of love for Louisville. Wanted to come out, but the COVID-19 put the kibosh on that. So he's a guy who's at 5.7 right now. He could rise. Malachi Bennett, another target out of Alabama. I spoke with him. He said he's really feeling Louisville as well. He's a guy who's a 5.7. So you got these 5.7 guys on the wide receiver part. DeKel Crowdus is a 5.8. I don't think Louisville is in the lead right now. I think they got some work to do to catch up, but it's still early. Who knows? They could catch up. He's a 4-star. And then you got Jordan Dingle. He's a local 4-star from Bowling Green. That'll help out. And Vic Mullen is a 5.7. Eric Olson is another guy from Colorado who's a 4-star, newly minted 4-star, who will boost them. So, yes, the bottom line is they had 4 4-stars in the 2011 class, and then they had, I think, 6 in the 2017 class. So, they're recruiting a lot of offensive guys that are 4-star level, high 3-star level on the offensive side of the ball. And then on defense, where did I put that other one? Anyway, no matter. I can't find this on here, but on defense, they're also targeting for 4-star kids. You got Travion Ford, who is a 4-star kid. He's a 4-star D-end out of St. Louis. He's probably the number 1 defensive target. You got Ricardo Holloman, who's also he's a 4-star. He plays corner. He's from down in Florida. Let me pull this up real quick. I'm not done with this yet. I'm still in the middle of writing it. I want to add my notes to it, and I'm also adding kids to it. So bear with me on this. Justice Boone's committed to Florida. I'm told he's in contact with Louisville often, so he's a name to watch. He's a 5.7 kid. Jaden Hood, he'll be a 4-star. He would have been a 4-star had we had the Rivals camps. I truly believe that, but everything stopped, man. So he's a guy that Louisville's after. They got to get him. Ben Perry, he's a good one. Kamari Lassiter is also a 4-star that Louisville's in a good spot with. They could pull both Holloman and Lassiter, and that would put 2 4-star corners in the secondary. And then safety, they're looking good for these 3. Dunn's a 4-star. He just hasn't gotten it yet. He's definitely that type of player. Braylon Oliver, he was the number 1 player in South Carolina, moved to Hoff and Cornelius. So he's on line for a bump. He's 5.7. Maybe he gets it. Maybe he doesn't. I don't know. But Jordan Lovett's another guy that they're sitting good for. And then they got, John House. It's another dude. It's looking good. So, yes, I think that they could beat the 29th ranking in this class. It's going to be tough, but it's possible. Excuse me. So Casey Joe said, this was awesome. Thanks. He says pass rushing DN defensive tackle targets and who Louisville is high with. Well, kind of answered that in the first question. Travion Ford is the priority at outside. He could play D end or outside linebacker. He's the rush edge guy. That's who you want. Braden Wood is another kid who could play outside or he could move in. He's got a good get off. I like him. Who else? I'm not really familiar. These people right here are newer targets to emerge. I'm not really familiar with them yet, and I don't want to sit here and watch the film. These guys are pretty much inside linebacker targets. Ben Perry will come off the edge as a card, and he's a dude who can wreak havoc in a multitude of positions. He's versatile. You can line him up off standing up as an edge rusher. You can drop him into coverage. Really like him. Donovan McMillan is another guy who's really blown up here lately, and I think he too can be used in a variety of ways in a card spot. So those are the edge rushers kind of guys that you're looking at right now that Louisville's really targeting, and they got to hit. They got to land those dudes. It's vital. What else we got here? Would you call Louisville the leader for any of the cornerback trio of Ricardo Hallman, Mario Love, or Daniel Edwards? I think they're in a good spot with Hallman and Edwards. Love just committed to NC State. The staff wasn't really that, he wasn't that high on the board, so to speak. So, yeah, I think they're in a good spot for Hallman and Edwards, and as well Lassiter, who I just mentioned before. But I don't know. I wouldn't call them the leader at this point in time, but they're in the top. They're up there. They got a good shot. How do you feel about UL's placement with Raheem Sanders, and what position you think he is most suited for at UL? Sanders would be a hybrid. He'd be a H-back / slot receiver / running back. He'd be used like Jalen Samuels was used at NC State, but I think he might be a little better athlete coming out of high school than Jalen was. He's got like a crazy 10-yard burst. It looks like Alvin Kamara. He's a big dude. He's got some wiggle to him. He could do some things. I think it's wishful thinking that they're going to get Raheem Sanders. There's a ton of teams on this kid, and I don't know, man. Like, he's got Florida State. He's got Miami. Does he have Florida? No, he doesn't have Florida. So he's got two of the big three, they call it down there in Florida. It's Florida State, and Miami are the big three down there. South Carolina and Pitt, Mizzou. So he's got a lot of options. Tennessee is another team that he told me personally that he really likes. So he's got a lot of options, but I don't think that they're out of it. Let's take a look real quick at Sanders' film real fast. I want you to see what this guy looks like. He's a big dude, stocky dude, and he's fast. You see, like, the burst is crazy. The change of direction, you see that right there. Then he's able to pick up and accelerate again. I mean, he's the real deal. You can line him up, and he can play defense. So I've talked to some people. I talked to him, and he told me, I talked to Coach Ivy. I talked to Coach Holt. I talked to Coach Gunnar Brewer. I talked to Court Dennison. So the whole staff is on this kid, and that's because they all want Sanders in their individual. Oof, look at that. They all want him in their meeting rooms. So Court Dennison wants him to play linebacker. Holt wants him to play just straight up H-back. Brewer wants him to play tight end. I'm sure Norville McKenzie wouldn't mind him lining up in the backfield playing a little bit of running back, So he's a guy to watch for sure. He's one of my favorite players, not just that Louisville's targeting, but in the whole entire crop of 2021 prospects. I really like this kid. I think he's got a ton of upside. He plays basketball, even told me he plays baseball. So he's not like one of those kids that just focuses on football, eats football all day. So I think he's got a really high ceiling and could really do a lot of damage wherever he goes. The problem with a kid like Sanders is that you see the wiggle right there? The problem with Sanders is that he can do so many different things. Sometimes he becomes like a man without a position, and you never really find the right niche for him. But I think the way that Louisville uses the H-back position, I think he's a perfect fit for the Louisville offense, to be honest. And, we'll see how this plays out once the society comes back. If we can get him, if Louisville can get him on campus, watch out. because he does tell me that he really likes Louisville, but until they get on campus, you really can't call it. And he's been to Florida State multiple times. He's been to Tennessee. I think he said, I don't remember. I know he's been to Florida State. He's been to Miami. He's been to the 2 Florida schools. And I think he mentioned UCF he really likes. So, those schools down there, they got the advantage because he's been on campus. But, maintain hope. Without hope, you got nothing, right? Even though it may be irrational at times. But I think they got a shot. All right, so 100%. And Malik Neighbors' forecast, with one of those predictions being from Spiegelman, who seems to be very, very well connected in Louisiana. Yeah, I don't talk to Malik. It's good to have guys like Sam Spiegelman, who he's an active person in his region, and he relays information back to the team sites, and he does a good job with that. Sam told me that Louisville's definitely in the mix. But, it was an early forecast. You try to get those points. The longer you get the forecast in there, the more you can point and brag and say, look, I called this way back before anybody else did because I was on it, right? But it could change. I don't know. I know that Amari Huggins-Bruce is the number 1 target for Louisville right now. They also really like Jaden Alexis, who's extremely fast out of Florida. But, yeah, they like Malik Neighbors too. They're definitely recruiting him. They're in a good spot. I didn't put in a prediction, though, because I don't want to just copy Sam. I want to make sure that I have my own verified information for which I can base my pick on. I don't want to just follow the leader. I see people doing that, but I try not to do it. I like to just – because I get burned when I do that. I've lost a few when I just followed the leader and then I forgot about it. And then, 2 months later, everything changes in that kid's recruitment and he goes somewhere else. And I'm looking at my stats and I'm like, So, nah, I'm not close to putting in a pick yet until I hear something from him or some of my my people on South Floyd, if you know what I mean. So I was asked if I was close to putting in a pick for him, and that's what I said. And then he also wants to know, Lake Boy 25 wants to know, does him recently receiving offers from UGA and Oklahoma muddy up the recruitment? Yeah, anytime 2 of the top programs in the country that end up playing in the playoffs offer the kids you're after, it's not good for your chances. But at the same time, these offers aren't really offers all the time. Sometimes these offers are camp offers. There's a kid named Travion Stevenson. He's a 2-star. He's got like 50 offers. And he was committed to Old Dominion in February, and then he decommitted, right? And so people are like, how's this kid have all these offers? He was just committed to Old Dominion. And a source close to the situation told me that none of those are committable. They're all basically just offers to get him to come to camp, which I took with a grain of salt, considering that he's still getting them today. I think he just got Pittsburgh today, and it looks like there's not going to be a camp. So I don't know what's going on with him. Louisville recently offered him too. But my point is, just because you see a kid get a UGA offer or Oklahoma offer or a Florida offer or Bama, Clemson, Ohio State, LSU, it don't mean it's committable. Okay, so these offers aren't always what you think they are. If it was defense, I'd be a little bit worried about Oklahoma having it be committable because Joe Burrow threw for 7 touchdowns in the first half of a playoff game against Oklahoma. So they're taking anything, with a heartbeat. But I don't know. I don't know on that one. I think Georgia likes the kid. And they need receivers. So I don't know. But there's no visits. I tell you, watch the visits, but we don't have any visits right now. So it's hard to say. That's my answer. It's hard to say. Yes, it muddies the water a little bit, but it's hard to say how muddy it is. Sometimes you can stir up some mud in the water, but you can still see the fish moving. So there we go. Next question comes from Cardinal Cash. What do you think of the incoming class of 2020 with respect to defense? Man, I'm focused on 2021. You want me to go all the way back to 2020? I like Cam Wilson. Cam Wilson is a dog. I like Lovey Jenkins at safety. He's good. I think he's going to be a playmaker in the secondary, and fans are really going to like him. I like Yaya the Ivy. I like Boykin, the Boykin kid. I like Starks, So I think that they have a lot coming in the 2020 class. 2 of those guys, Boykin and Starks, kind of sleeping on the books a little bit, trying to learn through osmosis. But they got their stuff together and they joined in the 2020 class. So overall, they got a nice little squad coming in to help out and put some of the new staff's guys back on the field. You know how they say when a new staff takes over and they're playing with the old coaches, players, you know, oh, you got to let them get their guys in there. So, all right, we'll give you last year for what it was, but, you know, and this year too, it's a bridge year to get to the year where, you know, your guys are sophomores, some of your JUCO guys are seniors, you know, and now you got your guys out there. Okay, so, oh yeah, Jamie Vance, forgot about Jamie Vance. And yeah, Cam Wilson, I talked about him as well. So yeah, I mean, it's straight. It's a good step. I know the coaching staff really, oh, you mentioned Henry Bryant too, Cardinal Cash. I can't forget about Henry Bryant. I know Ivy loves Bryant, and you know, he fits what they want to do on their defense. They want those short, disruptive guys who can slip through the cracks, get skinny, explode off the line, and disrupt things in the backfield. You know, who doesn't, right? But some teams, they prefer to have, you know, the bigger guys that can do that up front. And those guys go first to the LSUs and Ohio States and Alabamas and Auburns and Floridas of the world. And then, you know, you kind of trickle down with what's left. So, what they try to do is they try to find these guys who can just kind of kamikaze through the line. And I think Henry Bryant does that. So I like Henry Bryant as well on paper. You know, we'll see what happens. But coach's staff makes it a point to rave about a kid. It's probably because they're going to use him. So he's going to get his chance. So, you know, I give that defense coming in on a national scale, like if we're scaling it against LSU and Clemson and Georgia, I give it a B minus. You know, I'm not mad at it. They got good players at each level, you know, and it's a good first start, you know, all things considered. So yeah, I like it. Card Rock, question about he says great stuff, Dave, much appreciated, thank you. Card Rock asks, question about our quarterback recruit Chaden Peary. You said he might be the one we land. He looks real solid on video. Well, let me stop you there. Everybody looks real solid on video. To quote Mike Farrell, the recruiting director for Rivals, I've never seen a kid throw an interception on a video. You know, I mean, I've seen a kid fumble on a highlight tape, right? So that's fine. Similar to last year's recruit Purdy, you said he was listed. He's asking me. He's asking me about the kid's height, where he's listed at 6'2", but he's really under 6 foot. And where did that info come from? Well, sir, you never give your sources up, okay? But I will tell you that he visited Georgia Tech, okay, in person, and I have friends there, and one of those is a guy here in the Rivals Network who saw him. He said he's short, so he's under 6 foot, and he's dialed in. So that's what he told me, and that's my guy. So maybe he's wrong, and in effect, I'm wrong by extension. But he's a good source. He's been doing it for a while. He's a good dude, and I trust him. And then, I don't know, maybe the rest of the kids on his team are short. Because Card Rock goes on to say, the reason I ask is on film, he looks to be at least a head taller than each of the running backs he lined up with in the backfield. I guess it is possible that all their running backs are under 5'5". Another site has him listed at 6'2.5". I don't know, man. Maybe we're wrong. Maybe he's above 6 foot, but it's not what I heard. And maybe his running backs are short, or maybe the camera angle is weird. Card Fan 59 says, awesome, Dave. Thanks, brother. Appreciate it. All right. So that is from the first chat. That was in response to the first chat. A couple people asked me some questions. Then I asked you guys for more questions for this chat, and I got a ton of responses. And by a ton, I mean like 25 questions. So thank you. I really appreciate that. I feed off of your energy, and if I don't get the feedback, it kind of makes me want to sit around and be inert, not do anything, especially in these times, you know, because there's nothing really going on. But if I have you guys feeding me energy, then it gets me going. It makes me want to give back to y'all. So I really appreciate all the strong feedback when I ask for these questions. Any update? H. Collett asks, any update on tight end Jordan Dingle, decision date, top schools, prediction? I did have something. Hold on. I have to find it. As far as a decision date, I'm pretty sure he said he wants to commit after taking a few visits. And like everybody else, he can't take a few visits. I know Purdue is one of those schools up there. His brother goes to Georgia Tech, but I don't think he's like into Georgia Tech that much. In an article written by Brian Ebert at a Purdue site, he's a friend of mine, he did an interview with Dingle, and this is what it says. Okay, I love the coaching staff. He says this about Purdue. I love the coaching staff and feel like I built a great relationship with Coach Wallace, said Dingle, who was offered by Purdue at his camp last summer. Okay, so Coach Wallace is Kevin Wallace. Okay. I'm sorry, Ryan Wallace. Ryan Wallace is his former head coach, Kevin Wallace's son, who's the tight end coach and one of the main recruiters up there at Purdue. So, bring it back. Jordan Dingle played under Kevin Wallace at Bowling Green before Kevin Wallace took the job here at Louisville at St. X. Kevin Wallace's son, Ryan, is an assistant coach at Purdue, and he's the tight end coach, and he's recruiting Jordan Dingle, who's a tight end. So I think Purdue has a pretty legitimate shot with Dingle. The thing is, he hasn't really visited that much. Louisville, however, he has visited multiple times, and I think Louisville's in a good spot with him as well. So not much to add there, other than in Brian's article for the Purdue site, he says, Dingle said that in addition to Purdue, he hears most often from Virginia Tech, which is true. I know Virginia Tech is one of the schools he really likes. Ohio State, not sure if he's a take there. Northwestern, Vanderbilt, Louisville, Kentucky, and Boston College. So if I had to pick three out of there, I'd go with Purdue, Virginia Tech, Louisville, Kentucky in no particular order. Okay, and I think Ohio State is up there too, but I don't know that Ohio State's going to take him. I feel like Ohio State's lined up for some really some more local, maybe bigger profile kids. So we'll see what that goes down. But he is trying to get back up to Purdue. So my prediction for him is too early to be determined, but Louisville's in a good spot. Definitely top four, and then could be number one. I think them and Purdue are up there. Virginia Tech ain't to be slept on, though. For some reason, kids love Virginia Tech. All right, so Card for Life 32 asks, you still leaning U of L for Mal Glenn? Yes, I am. Seems like we're going head-to-head against Cincinnati for Kenner, Glenn, Dingle. Announcement coming next week. That's what he told me. Mal told me straight up, I'm committing next week. So I think that it's going to be Louisville. People I talk to around town feel good that it's going to be Louisville. And my Cincinnati people, I haven't really asked them about Mal. I'm more focused on Dingle, honestly, Jack Dingle, but I'll get into that later. Who is the staff H. Collett with another question. Who is the staff looking at for help with the interior defensive line? Who are emerging as the top targets now? And who do we feel confident with at the spot? I think Braylon Wood is a kid who could be moved around the formation. I know that Coach Ivy's talked to him about he could play DN or he could play 3-tech, stuff like that. Another guy is Baron Sorrell. He's from Louisiana. He's a Sam Spiegelman special. I'll talk to Sam. I might have to get Sam on this with me because they have so many kids that are targeting down in Louisiana now. And Solomon Wright has not been offered. He's from Oklahoma, but I was told by people in the know to keep an eye on him. So those are three guys pretty much that'll probably play interior of the defensive line. Solomon Wright, Baron Sorrell from Louisiana, and Braden Wood are probably the top three. Now, there's other kids out there with offers, but I think those are the priority guys to watch right now. All right. Hope that answers your question. And I feel confident for Braylon Wood. I think Wood is the guy that that they have the best shot with right now. The other two guys are new. The one kid hasn't even been offered yet, so we'll see about that. But they're not really targeting defensive tackles. I told you guys this on the board many times. They got like 3 last class, and they got some left over. They're they're not a team. They're not really focused on the defensive tackles. They feel like they're straight with what they have, right? And they only use 3 of them, and then they got 2 really, because the other guy is more like a just like a buck D end, right? So, I mean, I understand after watching what Kentucky did that fans want to put more meat on the front with their hand in the dirt. The thing is, that's not what Louisville does. That's not what they're going to do. They feel like, that's not – we can't go into Georgia, Louisiana, Texas, Florida, Ohio, and snatch these 5-star defensive tackles that can do it all. And we don't want to get stuck with a bunch of big dudes who can't move. So give me a somewhat undersized, sawed-off guy who can explode and get in gaps, because they don't want to get just like stuck in the middle of the road with the dudes that they target. They want to have guys that fit what they're trying to do. And if it don't work, it don't work. You go back to the drawing board. But they believe in it. It worked for them at App State. Will it work in the P5? To be determined. But that's what they're doing. And you guys, if you haven't heard me the first 7 times I said it, they're not going after dudes like that on the defensive front right now. They're looking for edge rushing DNs, okay, and versatile dudes who can move out to maybe play anywhere from 0 to 5, okay? That means 0 means head up, okay? 0 technique to a 5 technique, all right? That's what they're looking for, 5 techniques lined up with the tackle. So that's what they're looking for, and that's what it is, all right? CPKWC14 sounds like a bot. Yeah, switch your username up, man. Send me a message. We'll get you a new username. CPKWC14, the Android, asks, is there a position U of L is recruiting you would say they are recruiting better than others? Yes, offensive line for sure. In other words, what position are they targeting you feel confident that they will get some impact players, if any? And on the flip, what positions is the staff potentially reaching and or needs to recruit more players at that position? Right now, they're not reaching on anybody, okay, because they're going after their top dudes, okay? The problem with that is once they start falling off the board and missing and going to other schools, then what do, right? Who's left? So that's to be determined. But right now, I don't think they're reaching. And I think that they have a good plan for each single position right now, and they're attacking those positions. I know you guys are going to say D-tackle, we need more D-tackles, but they're cool. They got a few guys. They're not really stressing it right now. Braylon Wood is a guy they feel they can move around to fit what they need in this class. So other than that, they're doing straight. And I feel really confident they'll get some impact players at running back because of the success that we saw the running game have last season. I think they'll have success at wide receiver because receivers like to go deep, and they do a good job of that. Louisville is one of those teams that doesn't throw it much, but they put up a ton of yards. I think they actually were like first or second in the ACC in yards per completion, because what they do is they try to open up the deep ball off of play action, and they did a good job of that last year. So I think receiver is a spot. Hopefully they get some linebackers. They need some edge rushers, a DN outside linebacker. They need a middle linebacker, and they need safeties. And they're doing a really good job right now with where they're at with a few guys. But as I said in the last episode, recruiting is a zero-sum game. So, you got to get all the guys, right? Do we get Aaron McLaughlin or Chaden Peary? I mean, you guys, it's Card for Life 32. Everybody wants to know about the quarterbacks. I'm not sold on McLaughlin. I think he's a great athlete. I think he's probably not the best tight end. So that's what that is. Blowing up over here. That's nobody important. Chaden Peary, like I said, do they if he calls and tries to commit, will they take him? I don't know. They also like another guy who's kind of short. His name's Nick Vattiato, who I really like saying his name, as you can tell. I think he's a guy to watch too. He's 5'11". But like I said, if you've ever seen Cunningham, he's not exactly like towering over people. I think that Cunningham might be 6 foot on a good day. So it don't matter. Like I said, they operate off of play action and try to throw deep. So, if you could throw the ball deep, you don't really have to be that tall because they're not asking you to just stand in the pocket like under Petrino while your receivers run crossing routes on digs and stuff, right? Like digs and crossing routes and stuff. You're sitting in the pocket waiting for it to develop. Nah, they're rolling you out of the pocket and getting people downfield. You're dropping 7-8 yards deep, and you're taking a 7-8 step drop, and then you can see things. You can see where the safety is. He ain't there. I know where my receiver's going. You throw it, right? So I don't know. Shedeur Sanders is another guy. If you watch his film, he does some pretty dynamic things. He's another quarterback option out there. He was re-offered. I don't know what that meant because I thought that Ponce, the quarterback coach, I thought Frank Ponce was recruiting him this whole time, right? So he was offered back in 2018 by I think it was 2018. He was offered by the Petrino staff, is my understanding. I am working to verify that this second. Yes. Yeah. He got offered on 1/17/18. Thank God for everything, including his offer from the University of Louisville. Wow, God is awesome. And that was in 2018. So I guess he didn't know that he had an offer from Louisville, even though I'm pretty sure Frank Ponce was communicating with him. And I feel like Shedeur told me that himself. I've spoken with him twice. And anyway, you see what he could do on the field. He's a kid who can run, but he can throw. He's patient, sits back there, looks for the field to open up. Right here, you can see his escapability. Keeps his eyes downfield, doesn't look to run, keeps look. Woo, he kind of lofted that one up there. That one gets picked in the ACC, bro. But you can see the kid's a playmaker, and Louisville would love to have him back there running the offense. With the capability to hurt you with the run or the pass. So that's another name to watch now since he was re-offered. So next question: Give 3 to 5 recruitments that we will going head to head against UK. That's from Card for Life 32 again. Jordan Dingle is a guy they're going head to head with UK for right now. That this year is not a lot, man. Like Jordan Lovett isn't really getting recruited by Kentucky. Jansen Dunn is an in-state kid who Kentucky just dropped. I mean, he dropped Kentucky out of the top 7. He's not going there. So that's another one. Kentucky's feeling good for Jagger Burton and DeKel Crowder. So DeKel Crowder would be another one. I don't know that they're necessarily going head-to-head, though. I don't know that DeKel is really feeling Kentucky like that. I think he's looking – it's looking like Oklahoma and Ohio State are the schools that he really wants. But I don't know that Ohio State really wants him. But I know Oklahoma likes him. Oregon is another possibility, but I never really think that kids are actually going to go to Oregon. They might commit, but when they see how far it is and it's in the middle of nowhere, kids around here anyway tend to stay home. California kids go there all the time. They do a great job recruiting. It's just Kentucky kids seem to shy away from going all the way out there. They usually stay local. It's rare to see a Kentucky kid go somewhere other than, Alabama, is the ones I could think of with Wills and Damian Harris and Tanner Bowles. Other than that, the kids will go to Ohio State every now and then. But typically you see these guys go to Purdue or Kentucky or Louisville, Tennessee, sometimes Tennessee. So I don't know. I think Oklahoma might be kind of far away too, but we'll see. I can't really think of anybody else. They're not recruiting Lavelle Wright from North Hardin, who's a 3-star running back. Neither school's really on him like that. They got the quarterback from Somerset, Kaya Sharon. So I don't really see anybody other than those 2 in-state kids, DeKel Crowder and Jordan Dingle, that Kentucky and Louisville are really battling for. They were battling for Dunn, but Dunn cut Kentucky out of that group, and Louisville was battling for Jagger Burton, but Jagger cut Louisville out of that group. So I guess that's it right now. Time will tell. Raheem Sanders could be a guy, but I think the Florida teams are more in play there. So That's just what it is. Sabres with a 3 instead of an E says, what is the staff's biggest pitching point to recruits? And beyond that, what will be the way we get the bigger prospects away from the top schools? Number one, what is the staff's biggest pitching point? They do a good job of establishing like relationships over a long period of time. You know, like you've seen the Courier Journal articles where all the recruits or all the linemen are at Ledford's house, and you know his wife is out there cooking for them, and they're chilling. And that's kind of the way that Louisville approaches recruiting as well. I know it's cliche and corny, and I hate corny cliches, but in this case, it's what they do. I mean, it's accurate to say that, you know, they try to establish long-term relationships with family members and stuff like that, talk a lot of stuff outside of football. And then, you know, if you're a player that fits what they do well schematically, like an offensive lineman that's a good zone run blocker, they're going to talk about that. If you're a fast, explosive slot receiver who likes to catch the deep ball, they're going to point to Tutu. If you're a running back, they're going to, you know, they're doing what everybody else does. But I think what they try to sell to you is, you know, look, come here, be part of this family. We're building something, and we're modeling after Clemson. You hear them say that all the time. One of the things that coaches will talk about when they get media availability and recruiting questions come up is this player going to help us beat Clemson? You know, we're trying to, you know, that's the standard. They're cool with those guys. They're friends. Dabo and Satterfield are friends. So that's what they're trying to do. And that's the way that they'll get the bigger prospects away from top schools, is if they start winning and they become like a national, you know, contender. They're in the top 15, if they're on the verge of the playoffs. You got to remember, Clemson got smashed by West Virginia in a bowl game, like 73-10 or something, when Pat Smith was the quarterback. And, you know, they were ready to fire Dabo there. Like, the fans were ready to kill him. Like, Clemson got embarrassed. And then they just could never get over the hump. You know, remember the term Clemsoning meant that, you know, Clemson would be in a position to win, but they'd always blow it. Well, nobody's talking about that anymore because, you know, they stuck with Dabo over the long haul, and he turned things around. Now he got 2 national championships, and they're pulling the top player out of 8 different states some years. So that's the way you got to do it. You got to win on the field. And you know, it's a long road ahead. They took the right step last year with 8. They have to duplicate that success. They got to match it. You know, they got to win 8 again. They can't go win 7 and then go win 9 and then win 8 again. Like, you got to 8, 9, 9, 10, 11. Like, that's how Clemson did, you know. And so that's how you get the top kids away from the top schools. Is how do you get the top recruits away from the top schools? Well, you become one of the top schools. Plain and simple, right? What's up with Travion Ford? Any info when he'll commit? No. He had 3 official visits set up: Illinois, Missouri, and Louisville. All of them got canceled. So he put a pause on everything. Louisville's good, and they're top 3, and I like their chances. However, it's a long way to go because he ain't committing anytime soon. At least that's what I was told. You know, and as soon as I publish this, he'll commit somewhere. So, but no, I don't think he's committing anywhere anytime soon. I think he's taking a break from things because he can't get out to the schools that he wants to visit. Although I'm pretty sure he's already visited all 3 of those schools. So who knows? Eddie Paul 79 asks, and what's your opinion on kids all trying to do the same blue blood schools? Clemson and Bama and all them, only to get buried on a depth chart of loaded athletic players, a lot of them deciding to transfer after a couple of years to get playing time. Do you think we will ever see a trend where kids go to some of these other schools like U of L, IU, Cincy, where they can get playing time and exposure from day one? I mean, kids go to Indiana and transfer. A kid named Madison Norris, he's from Indiana. He's from Indianapolis. He just transferred out of IU. He's a 3-star. He's a good player. Don't know what happened there. Kids transfer. You know, you get buried on a depth chart anywhere. You don't work. You don't do what you got to do. One thing that people don't understand is these blue blood schools, when these kids commit to these blue blood schools, they know what they're in for, right? And so they got to push themselves harder, and they push themselves against the top competition that they're going to find in the country. And so there's plenty of kids that go to Bama or Clemson that don't start until their junior year, and then they go pro. So I don't know. I don't think that there's a lot of kids. I don't think you see a disproportionate amount of kids, transferring out of blue blood schools. I think you see it pretty much across the board, kids transferring out. So I would say that I don't agree with the premise on that. But I get what you're saying. Like you're saying, if this kid goes to Bama, he could have been a day one starter at Louisville, but he chooses to go to Bama and gets buried on the bench, right? Well, I mean, if that's what you're saying, I agree. I mean, you want to play, but at the same time, kids want to go live. You got to live where you're going, and if you want to live at Clemson, if you want to live at Alabama, then that's where you go live. And then eventually you work hard, you get on the field. If you transfer, you transfer. That's another thing. Maybe these kids commit to these schools thinking, all right, I'll beat somebody out. And if I don't, then I'll just transfer to UL, Indiana, or Cincy. You know what I mean? So I'm not mad about it. Doesn't bother me. Fail big. Don't be afraid to fail. If you got a chance to go to Alabama, test yourself. See if you can go beat out that 5-star running back or whatever and make it to the league from there. If not, transfer portal is there for you. No big deal. Lake Boy 25 asks, right around early June last year, UL went a big – okay, so he's saying around this time last year in June when the camp started, Louisville went on a big commitment run. Does that seem fairly unlikely to occur again, considering the inability of recruits to visit? Yeah, absolutely. Because those recruits were coming to Louisville and visiting and then trying to commit on the spot. And Louisville was like watching them work out. And they're like, yeah, this kid's good. We'll take him. Yeah, it's a commit, right? So they were running off commits there for they would get 2 a day sometimes. They were getting a ton of kids. So I think you're not going to see that kind of spree. And, I talked to Satterfield about that as well at a press availability one time about that run. And he was saying, man, I've never seen that before. So I don't think that kind of run is rare to see in general. Like that type of stuff rarely happens, if at all. So, most of the time they're spread out. You might see a team get, 4 or 5 guys, in a month, but they got 14 in June. So I don't think you'll ever see that again. I'll be shocked, honestly. Lake Boy 25 also asks, if the recruiting world as far as visits hadn't been completely shut down for the past month and the foreseeable future, who do you think would also be on the commitment list for Louisville right now? Well, it's April. So that's tough to say, man. It really is, because they wouldn't even have their camp yet. The camp start in May. So I don't know, man. I can't call that. Bird's Word asks, besides Kenner, can you list the other running backs UL has a priority? Yes. I was fixing that today, actually, because I had Kamaro Edwards on there, but he committed to North Carolina. Kamaro Edwards is from Havelock, North Carolina, which is, fun fact, right outside the Cherry Hill United States Marine Corps base, which serves as, I want to say, the 2nd Marine Air Wing. I was stationed there a little bit, so familiar with Havelock. Anyway, let me recover this. All right, so the running backs here, other than Kenner, are Jaden Anderson out of Perry, Ohio, and Colby McDonald from St. John's College. Those are your 2 running backs. You can look those guys up. Running long on time here, so I don't want to go through them too much. But those are the guys. One's a 4-star, one's a high 5.63. Last I heard, we had 2 2020 commits because of COVID virus. Recruiting stopped. How do we stack up versus other ACC schools? Not good. I think Louisville's ahead of Syracuse and NC State right now, and that's not good. That's the hard truth. You only got 2 kids. There's other schools that are doing a lot better. Let me take a look right here. Pull it up. All right, so if we go here to the commitment list, under the recruiting tab, you'll see that the national rank is 55, right? So click on that. And then if you go over here, you can drop this down over here and find the ACC. And then you'll see where Louisville is. They're 12th, all right? They have 2 commits. They're actually probably should be tied up 165. So they've got 2 commits. Both are 3 stars. Clemson has 10. North Carolina has 12. Miami 10. Tech has 6. Florida State has 4, 2 of which are 2 stars. So the average star rating here for Clemson, they're averaging a 4-star. Everyone that commits to them is a 4-star. You know, and they got a 5-star. Look at that. So that's what you're up against, you know. And then North Carolina has 6 4-stars and 3 2-stars, right? So their average is 3.5, which is very good, very respectable. 4 6-stars, come on. Miami has 4 4-stars. Virginia Tech has 2. Florida State has 2. Duke has 6. Now you see they got a 2.86. That means they got a lot of points just because they got 7 commits. So Louisville could catch them. Virginia got 4 3-stars. They're at 2.8. Louisville could catch them. Boston College has 4 3-stars committed. Pitt has a 4-star. So that's where it is. You know, you check that out yourself. That's how you are able to check to see how you're doing against the rest of the ACC. Cold, hard numbers. No opinions at all. Except I have an opinion on the number, which is you don't want to be third to last. You know, that's not doing good. But it's still early. Who knows? Now, ask this one in the other thread, but do you see any instant impact guys from the 20 class? That's Card Cash. I already answered that in the other thread. Who do I like most from the class? Cam Wilson, man. I've been saying that since Jump Street. Who else we got here? Tyler Spalding wanted to remind me that there was questions asked on the other thread for the first Cardinal Sportscast recruiting chat, and I already answered those. Thanks, Ty. Card Fan 59. Our staff is pretty much the same from a year ago, except the addition of Derek Nicholson. What have you heard about Nicholson on the recruiting trail, and how's he fitting in? So, yeah, I asked some people at Louisville, you know, what kind of recruiter Nicholson was. And they said he basically got everybody at Southern Miss. Like any of the good kids at Southern Miss, Derek Nicholson had his fingerprints all over those recruitments. So he's supposed to be the guy. I think him and Court are clicking pretty well. I think they're kind of like a Batman and Robin duo out there on the trail. And you know, he hasn't landed any recruits yet. So you know, I to be determined of how well he's going to do. But, you know, he comes in with a pedigree and he's respected. So, you know, definitely give him the benefit of the doubt, see how things shake up. And Card Cash said he would like to hear that. I hope that answer satisfies what you wanted to know. Interested to hear what Dave has to say because of Nicholson having a strong recruiting background. Yeah, that's what I'm hearing too. He has a strong recruiting background down there at Southern Miss. So hopefully that carries over and he's able to translate that skill set to Power 5, as they say. What are the odds Trayshawn Smith, man, he's not coming back. Trayshawn Smith is gone. Stop asking about Trayshawn Smith. Who's the quarterback Louisville just re-offered from Texas? Addressed that earlier. That's Shador Sanders, Deion Sanders' son. And there we go. Looks like KWC Panthers. Is that Kentucky Wesleyan? I don't know. Dave, I love your work and definitely have some recruiting questions. I'll list them separately. First, what are the territories of each coach? Well, I mean, that's different. Like they dudes are all over the place. I know Frank Ponce is down there in South Florida. I know that I know Mark Ivy, he recruits towards like the western coast of Florida, like Bradenton and all those schools out there. Because he used to coach high school ball there for a long time before joining up with Satterfield at App State. So he's got strong ties down there on that side of Florida, and Ponce is down South Florida. But, I mean, those dudes are all over the place. When I talk to kids, like they may have designated regions. Like Court's supposed to be recruiting Ohio, right? Court Dennison's supposed to be recruiting Ohio. Brew is Hunter Brew. Gunnar Brewer, he's recruiting Kentucky a lot. Like that's what he does. But you'll see him in North Carolina, South Carolina all the time recruiting dudes. I see. I mean, they're just scattered everywhere. As far as like Ledford's in North Carolina all the time recruiting kids. Court Dennison's out in Georgia. Norvell McKenzie, I see him getting tagged a lot from kids all over the place. So I don't really know that one yet. You know, I'm trying to figure that out. I guess I could ask. I never really worry about it, but I guess I should because you want to kind of keep score on which guys are getting the dudes, right? So that's another question that I'll do some more research on. But you know, I hope I answered it at least to some extent to help you out a little bit there. But good question, and I will check that out later. Second question, do you feel this staff has an ace recruiter or two on the staff? Ledford's been killing it, man. Ledford's been a man. He's been getting all the O-line guys. And, you know, Court's probably the ace recruiter right now. I'm sure Nicholson would like to take that spot from him. Shadon and Brian Brown, they do a good job. Whenever I talk to some kids about, you know, I talk to a lot of kids from Florida and Georgia, and they always mention those guys. And they say, dude, they're on me. I talk to them every day. Yeah, they got a real shot. So, you know, it's a collaborative effort. It really is. But no, there's no like ace recruiter. There's no T. Martin type guy, as you would say. There's no Mark Field. There's no Vince Morrow on the staff yet. But if I had to pick one guy with a gun to my head, I'd go with either Court or Ledford right now. But I mean, they got two recruits, right? They got two commitments right now, and last year was a mixed bag. So I mean, you could put Dale Jones in there. I don't know, but Kentucky. Oh, then he says we haven't recruited as well as Oregon as a whole over the past few years. I get that, and FSU has come in and taken away a few key recruits from us. But who's going to step up? It doesn't seem like we – okay, so yeah, I answered that question. He also asked, how many guys are we looking to get at each position this class? You can just provide a range, and what positions are the most crucial to hit on this cycle? Man, it caught me off guard right there. Quarterback, they're trying to get one. Running back, they're trying to get one. Receiver, they're trying to get three. O-line, they're trying to get five. They'd like to get one tight end and one H-back in this class, and that'll do it for the offense. D-line, D-end, they want to get at least two. I think they want two inside linebackers, two outside linebackers, two corners, and three safeties, and one card. So you can put the card in with the outside linebacker situation. So there we go. What positions are the most crucial to hit on in this cycle? Safety, I've said that before. Linebacker is very crucial. You always want O-line depth. You always want D-line depth. You know, you got to get as many D-ends as you can. They need an edge rusher. That's crucial. So I would say in order, I'd say edge rush, number one, middle linebacker, number two, safety, number three. Give me line number four, O-line number four. Then I'd say corner maybe. They need some receivers, actually. They're going to lose some guys, so they need receivers. And they need a running back. So there you go. All right, man. KWC Panthers with all the questions, man. All right, the staff has done an excellent job at keeping and expanding our recruiting territory in the South to the Carolinas, Louisiana, while also putting more focus regionally on Tennessee, Ohio, and even out west. Okay, that's not a question. That's more of a statement. It's a bold proclamation. But anyway, they got two recruits, man. What are we talking about? In your opinion, what will be the most important territories for U of L football in the next few years? Ohio. Got to get Ohio, man. Cincinnati's right there. It's got a ton of kids. Got to lock down Ohio. Ohio's like extended. It's an hour and a half away, man, to Cincinnati. They got to start doing better there. I say they got to, you always got to hold down Georgia and Florida. Always. If you're in the ACC, you got to recruit there. Sorry. Just have an advantage, If you're getting those guys that aren't going to the SEC, you got to jump into those dudes. And, you always got to recruit Kentucky well. But, there's like three or four guys, You know, if you look at the 2011 class, they got Jamon Brown, they got Devontae Parker, and then they got everybody else was from Florida and Georgia pretty much. They got another kid from Kentucky too that contributed. I can't remember his name right now, but you know, you got to get those 2 or 3 top dudes out of Kentucky and then go down there and get your bread and butter from Georgia, Florida, and hopefully Ohio. But I think those are the areas you really got to recruit better. It wouldn't hurt. And North Carolina, you know, the Carolinas, they're from there. They got roots there. They coach there. Satterfield was there forever, you know. So you got to do well in the Carolinas. Got to do well. Number 1, got to do well in Ohio. Number 2, Kentucky, Florida. Number 3, the Carolinas, and then you got to the home recruiting is the icing on the cake. You know, what states do the staff put more focus on, and why Florida and Georgia? There's more players there. I know it's complicated. No, it's really not that complicated. You go where the players are. You know, basic one-stop shopping. You know, that's why everybody goes to Walmart. You know, if I gotta go buy a nail gun, a frying pan, 6 boxes of frozen soft pretzels, and a TV, I don't want to go to 5 different stores to get all that. I just go to Walmart and get it all. Well, that's what Georgia and Florida. You know, I'll go down to Florida. When I'm down there, I'll go ahead and I'll snatch up a D lineman, 2 corners, a receiver, and then I'll pick up. I'll stop in Georgia and grab me a quarterback and a safety and a center and a left tackle. Call it a day. You know, that's how you do it. You had an article post that talked through scheme, fit, location, connections, whatever they would even consider coming here, personality. Whoa. Okay, so Panthers is talking about an article I did a while back where I said, you know, there's a bunch of factors that go into recruiting and how do you get all this stuff, right? So he's saying that I had an article post that talked through scheme, fit, location, connections, whatever they would even consider coming here, personality, fit, look, test, projection, etc. However, I was just curious as to what our baseline for recruiting is. The baseline for recruiting is who's going to help us beat Clemson is what the coach would say. They say, who's going to help us beat Clemson, right? So you're going to look at the dude, does he fit our scheme, number 1, right? Can he beat Clemson, number 2? And then fit our scheme is basically, is he a guy that's going to buy into the culture? Does he have the work ethic? Fit the scheme is just a blanket statement, meaning, you know, can he play our style of offense, right? That's fit the scheme. Then it's, does he buy into the culture, which would be, you know, does he have, when he came on the visit, did I fill him out and feel like he'd be a good fit here? That's fit, right? That fit the personality, the fit, all that. And then system fit is, all right, I got a 6'4" receiver who runs a 4.6 and who runs good short routes, good strong hands, but he's not really a take the top off guy. He doesn't get downfield well. Well, that's not what Louisville does. You know, they're not like a power offense. So Isaiah Cummings is a guy who played at Mayo. He went to Kentucky. He's a big receiver. He's 6'4", 215, right? But Louisville already had guys like that, so they weren't looking for him. They were looking for a guy like Jordan Watkins who runs like a 4.4 40 and can get deep downfield to take the top off the defense. So Isaiah's a hardworking kid, great kid, good family, but he just didn't fit offensively for what the scheme was. So, you know, that's the type of stuff they look at. But, I mean, it's just there is no, like, baseline. I mean, the baseline – if I have to make a baseline, it's – does this kid do what we do in his position, and can he help us beat Clemson? That's what they're looking for. That's what they're trying to get to. You know, they're not going to get there this year. And they're not going to get there next year. It's going to take 3, 4, 5 years to build up enough social capital in the recruiting world to get there, right? So that's what it is. And his last question is, or questions, we all talk about championships here. Some people say we can't be a consistent top 25 recruiting football school, and I don't understand why that's not possible. I mean, it's possible. There's plenty of teams that would. Clemson wasn't a top 25 school. They're running things. I mean, it's just hard. You know, there's a lot. Everybody's trying to get out there and get the money, man. The money is football. Basketball is cool, and March Madness makes some money, but the regular season football games are through the roof. You know, they generate a ton of money. and they help other sports as well. So everybody's looking for the big stud quarterback or the crazy defensive end who runs a 4.4 and bench presses 2 Buicks and can cripple that stud quarterback with one hit. That's what everybody's looking for, and there's money in that, and that's how you become a consistent top 25 recruiting school, is by winning. But how do you win? You get those, a chicken and the egg. So, it's hard. It's hard to break through the crust, and get up into that upper echelon. Like sometimes you'll get up there, but it's hard to stay up there once you're up there. Louisville was on the verge of the playoffs, and then they they went down to Houston on a Thursday night, and Ed Oliver just destroyed the whole offense, and Greg Ward was phenomenal that game. So, and it killed Louisville's chances at the playoffs, and then it's kind of just downhill trajectory from there. Because once you fly too close to the sun, you burn those wax wings off. You got to have them wings made out of 4 and 5 star material. So it's just hard to crack that mold. But I think Louisville could do it. It's just going to take a long time. Top 25. I mean, and do you really want top 25? I mean, is that good enough? Like, do you understand the difference between the top 5 recruiting classes in the country and then 6 to 10? It's humongous. It's a huge chasm, right? So it's tough, man. So he also says another statement is, we have the conference, facilities, coaches, money, stadium, history of putting guys in the pros. You know, the fans, that's the problem. Nobody shows out. They need more money. I don't think you have the money. I think you need more money. I don't know the money situation. I'll let Zip talk about that. Zip knows where every penny Louisville spends goes somehow. I don't know how Zip does it. Shout out to Zip. But yeah, I mean, they got the facilities. They have good coaches. They're in the ACC, which is probably the worst of the Power 5 conferences right now. Argue with me. I don't know. It's Clemson, and then everybody else is kind of like middle of the road right now. Florida State's down. Miami got beat by, who was it? FAU, whoever. Florida International. North Carolina's on the rise, though. But, the Pac-12 is decent. Like, Arizona State's coming up. Utah's always good. Oregon's really good. So, and, USC might be good. I don't know what's going on with them, man. Clay Helton got that thing kind of up and down. So, I think the ACC, Pac-12 are kind of like down at the bottom. You could argue that the Big Ten and the SEC are really the only good programs, like good conferences out there, whereas the Big 12 has Oklahoma, but they go to the playoffs every year and get dogged, and nobody else. Texas is kind of faltering right now, but I don't know, man. You're right. They're in the Power 5. They have the money. They just need more of it. History of putting guys in the pros. Yeah, they do all right with that. Can't argue there. Besides location, recent success, tradition, and other obvious factors, what's keeping us from putting forth a full tilt effort and recruiting more like Clemson and FSU? Money. Gotta get more money. Gotta get more boosters. Gotta get more fans in the seats. Gotta get more money. Money. Money is the root of all evil, and it's also the root of national championships. What is it going to take to get to that level? There you go. I told you. Money and notoriety. Cardinal Cash answered your question for you. And that's it. That's everybody's questions. I hope I got everything. That went on for what felt like forever. If you have any other questions, just hit me up. I'm going to post this on the premium recruiting board, and underneath of it, just ask the questions you want. I'm sure no one will do that, and then I'll have to go back and type up there, hey, I'm about to do another one of these. Give me more questions, and you guys will. But anyway, thanks for all your questions. That was a handful, a lot of work for me. I got those 2 other articles coming up. It's the offensive not hot board, but the big board, right, where, I'm kind of taking everything that's happened in this cycle and cutting off the fat and just giving you who I think is the guy in each position on offense and on defense, right? So that's where we're at with it. Thanks for your questions again. And don't forget to ask more, all right? Because I'd like to keep doing this, All right. So have a good one. Stay safe.